So let's talk about physical energy. Physical energy is about how we look after our body. If you think about it, during the pandemic, many of you wouldn't have been on your feet very often. We became very sedentary, sat in front of computers. Now, I know lots of people got out and got really fit, but if you hadn't been, and the first time you came back to work after the pandemic, you might have noticed that your feet were hurting, or going up and down sets of stairs constantly, if that's what you have to do in your job, was actually a bit of an effort. It's because we hadn't really focused on using those muscles. Our physical self wasn't the best that it needed to be for the jobs that we were doing. So the way we think about physical self is understanding how we look after every little bit. If you're an athlete, you only get that superb performance if you focus on how will you look after the body, what shoes you wear, your nutrition, your water. The way that we look at this is by thinking about batteries. So on a piece of paper, you could do this with me now, and then we'll do an exercise afterwards. I want you to draw 5 batteries. So almost imagine a rectangle with a little knobbly bit on the top, and then split it into 5. So there's like 5 levels in your battery. I'll give you a minute to do that. You're all busy scribbling now, or some of you are looking at the camera and going, no, I'm not doing that. If you're not drawing it, then at least be thinking about it in your heads. I want you to label each of those batteries. The first battery, I want you to label sleep. The second battery, I want you to label exercise. I want you to label the third battery, food. I want you to label the fourth battery, water. And I want you to label the 5th battery, alcohol. Then what I want you to do is rate them on your batteries, where 1 is I'm not really good at that, to 5, I'm brilliant. Here's an example, I'll give you mine. So sleep, I'd probably be a 3. I'm not brilliant. In fact, little secret, I'm a bit of a snorer, so I kind of wake myself up. 3's not great. If I think about food, and I'm not doing these in order, that's fine, but if I think about food, I'm probably a 4. I'm pretty good at food, although I like a treat. If I think about exercise, I'm a 4. I do regular exercise. I could even be a 5 on that one. Water for me is a 1. I don't drink enough, and I know I don't drink enough, and that is one of the things I'm working on. But where I'm not drinking enough, I know that I might get a little bit dehydrated. That dehydration results in me getting a headache. If I get a headache, I become distracted and I'm not as good as I need to be. And then alcohol, well, I'm probably a 4. I don't drink during the week. I have a cheeky beer at the weekend, but actually that's fine because it's not about being extremes or saying you mustn't do this. Hey, we're human beings. We like to feel good. So have a think about your batteries. Where would you mark yourself? When we've finished this little film, we'll give you some time to think about those. And if you're just watching this film on its own, be scribbling them as we're doing it. Just to bring this little bit to an end, physical energy absolutely can impact performance. And I want you to think about it in 2 ways. If you are a doctor who is tired because you've been working back to back for the last 2 days, you haven't been eating properly, you haven't been sleeping particularly well, and you have an 8-hour heart procedure to do. You're going into that operating theatre when your batteries are not full. What's the impact going to be, or could be? Yeah. Now, if you were in a room with me, you'd be shouting out answers. But at home, you're probably going, or in the office or wherever you are, the impact is probably, he could make a mistake. She could actually have a fatal impact. The amount of physical exercise, physical sleep, the food that we feed our bodies with is really, really important. The other way of looking at it is how many times do you rely on that one person in your team who is always the person that says, yes, boss, when somebody phones in sick? That they're doing 60 hours this week because they're really reliable and you can call on them. Well, it might fix a hole for you that week, but how often do you think about the impact on their actual physical energy? So just bear in mind that member of the team who wants to do 80 hours a week because they want the money is probably not going to be really effective for all 80 hours. Following this film in a minute, we're going to set you a task. A, to reflect on your batteries and to think about which one do you really need to work on. For me, it's water. And the second activity we're going to get you to think about is actually how often do you think about the physical impact on your team? How often do you make sure they're drinking during shift? How often do you think about making sure that they're taking a lunch break away from their desk? Physical energy impacts performance either positively or negatively. And as a manager or leader, thinking about yourself and about the team is critical.